Okay, this is a brand new thing that we're going to talk about, so I want to make some of it clear in English before I return to Spanish. You'll notice here, after the las consonantes nasales, I have a capital N between slashes. What this means is that capital N represents all of the nasal consonants, which, if you can see on your chart, is the bilabial M sound, the alveolar N sound, and the N you get with the tilde over it. So all of those nasal phonemes are represented by this large N. So really what we're seeing here between slashes is a category rather than a specific phoneme. Entonces tiene que ver con todas las consonantes nasales. No es información nueva. Tenemos el fonema M, es bilabial, es nasal, es sonoro. Nunca cambia, no hay ningunas consideraciones extras. N, como ya saben, es alveolar, nasal y sonoro. Y ñ es palatal, nasal y sonoro. Los tres fonemas m, n, ñ son nasales y son sonoros. La única diferencia es el punto donde producimos este sonido, m bilabial, n alveolar y ñ palatal. Vamos a ver unos casos de asimilación regresiva y como un repaso es cuando un sonido afecta el sonido anterior. You have seen this before. You have seen when a consonant affects a consonant that comes before it, like when we were talking about S and Z. When you had a voiced consonant after the phoneme S, you had to turn that S phoneme into the allophone Z, so you're familiar with the concept. Just as a little teaser right here at the moment, I want you to just say these out loud after me, and then we will talk about them. En Segovia, en Francia, en Chile, en Bogotá, en Granada. Okay, we're going to come back to that asimilación regresiva en unos minutos. Empezamos con lo más fácil, el fonema bilabial nasal sonoro. No hay ningunos contrastes con el inglés porque tenemos este sonido en inglés también. Ortografía tampoco tiene problemas porque siempre con la letra del alfabeto M. Ustedes pueden pronunciar estas palabras ahora. Manuel, más, monja, conmigo, inmediato. Fácil, fácil, fácil. Nunca cambia, no importa dónde ocurre en la frase o en la sílaba. Ñe, 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 ñe. Reminds me of little kids when they say ñe, 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 ñe. So that's the sound we're talking about here. El punto palatal, el modo nasal y sonorización sonoro. Una cosa para recordar es que todos los fonemas nasales son sonoros. Todo el tiempo, nunca cambia. Contrastes con el inglés, pues obviamente no tenemos la letra del alfabeto ñ. We don't have an N with a tilde over it, pero tenemos este sonido. Por ejemplo, en la palabra onion. If you pronounce that in English, just try this, onion. And the next one, canyon. Now notice in the middle of it, onion, onion. It sounds silly when I do it that way, but you get the point. Onion is the ñ sound. We do that with an I-O. In the next one, canyon, we do it with a Y-O, but phonetically, basically the same environment. So we do have that sound, we just don't have any letter of the alphabet called that. Ortografía, también fácil, porque siempre, casi siempre, tenemos la letra del alfabeto ñ. So the symbol, el fonema ñ, es idéntico a la letra del alfabeto. There's one exception. In the word Antonio, say that after me, Antonio. We don't have an Nye, but you have an Nio, which basically accomplishes the same goal, the same sound. So try that one after me, Antonio. But otherwise, tenemos Nye, España, enseñar, niño, ñame, ñanduti. Those last two are probably unfamiliar to you. You can certainly look them up if you get a moment. But both of them start with the ñ, which is not really inherent to the development of Spanish over the years. This is influence from indigenous languages. So it's unusual to start a word with the ñ, but it can be done. So let's do all of those one more time. Just repeat after me. España, enseñar, niño, ñame, ñanduti. Okay, ahora, N. And this is where things get weird, so I will speak a little bit in English. The bad news is you have some more symbols to memorize. You also have to be able to apply those symbols when you see them occur in the transcriptions, just like we've been working on. That's the bad news. The good news is you don't have to work on pronouncing these situations because they do just happen naturally. Even if you're not a native speaker, it will just happen naturally. So this isn't going to be a trick for learning to pronounce anything differently than you already do. It's just a matter of memorizing new phonetic symbols and being able to apply them to transcription. Okay, so I have a little chart here. In the first column, la columna a la izquierda, I'm going to have the alófono. Now, just to be crystal clear again, up on top of the page, the N between slashes means the phoneme N. The alófono that we're going to talk about is the specific way that you pronounce an N depending on what comes after it. Then I'm going to give you an example in Español and an example in English. So, you might be wondering, how can an M stand in for an N? Well, the phoneme is N, meaning that the sound functions like an N, that's how you would spell it, but you wouldn't pronounce it that way. So this absolutely positively has to be written between brackets because we're talking about allophones now. Skip over to the English column, and without thinking too much about it, just natural speech, say these initials after me: MBA, NPR. Are you making an N sound or an M sound? You may be making an N sound, it's certainly possible, but it takes a little extra effort. NBA, NPR. In natural speech, that N is actually going to be pronounced like an M, MBA, NPR. Why would that be? Why would that be? We'll always be looking for the sound that comes after the N phoneme. The sound after will determine which allophone we want. So the sound after the N, NBA, is a B, B. And after NPR, the sound is a P. Try those sounds just isolated, B, P. What do they both have in common? Go back to the first column to get the answer. They're both bilabial, they're both bilabial. So when you say a word in Spanish, enviar, you're not really pronouncing an N, because that V letter will be pronounced like a B in pronunciation, which is, just like the MBA, bilabial. So it's like your mouth is already getting ready to make the next sound. One argument that I did have with a graduate school professor is he said that it would be impossible to make these any other way than how they should occur naturally, and I do have a bone to pick with that because, like I said, if you want to say NBA and NPR, or in Spanish, if you want to say enviar, yeah, you can force out an N. But what we're saying is in natural speech, your mouth wants to be as, what's the word I'm looking for, as efficient as it possibly can be. So when it pronounces the N phoneme, it's really getting ready for the next sound. So when you have an N phoneme happen before a bilabial consonant, what you're really doing to that N is pronouncing it as a bilabial So try all of those on that line, the 3, after me one more time, and feel that your lips are coming completely together. You're actually saying an M. Enviar. MBA. NPR. So yes, you can force an N, but it doesn't sound natural. Okay, here's a funny symbol. This is an M with a tail. And for those of you who took sociolinguistics, I don't think we use this symbol at all. So it's not N with a tail, which we'll get to in a moment. It's M with a tail. This sound is for the labiodental version of the N phoneme. One thing is kind of weird here, at least with the bilabial M, you already know that an M is bilabial. That makes visual sense as well as it makes audio sense. The M with the tail, the issue is it has nothing to do with an bilabial sound at all. This is just what the symbol looks like. So I'm going to call it M with a tail, but it's not an M at all. It is the version of the N phoneme that's labiodental. Now this is where I am going to remind you that this is just going to happen naturally. You don't have to worry about it too much. So just after me, let's do the Spanish example and the English example. So after me, en Francia. Unfair. Start with the English. Say it again. Unfair. Now, what if you were to begin to say the word and you get through the U and the N, you're getting ready to pronounce the F, but you don't. So you're going to get right up to the F, but just pause. So I don't want the F, the F, to actually come out of your mouth. You're going to stop just before that. So try this. So I'm not letting the air out, just you're getting ready, but you haven't released the air yet. What's going on in your mouth? You are already getting ready to make that F. So the N is actually pronounced while you are making the mouth shape of an F. Try that again. Unfair. Can you hold out the N, but your lips are all ready for the F? It's a labiodental. Try that. Unfair. You're already ready for it. Same thing with the Spanish example. Say after me, en Francia. En Francia. Can you stop it just before the word Francia, but you're getting ready to say it? So en I wish you could see me because I'm like making the F shape with my mouth, but I'm not letting air come out. But what I'm saying is I'm already pronouncing, I'm already like shaping my mouth to an F, even though I'm still saying the N. So what you need to know, M with the tail, es el alófono labiodental del fonema N. The next one, this is N with a, let's call it an accent mark underneath it, but it's really just a little mark, a cedilla. You might see this in some other languages, but not in Spanish. But this is an N with a little comma right underneath it. And this is el alófono dental del fonema N. So try the Spanish version with me. Un diablo. Un diablo. The reason I don't have an English example after that is because our pronunciation of a D isn't dental, it's alveolar. So this rule only applies to Spanish rather than English right now. So the same thing we did with above. I want you to say un diablo, but I want you to stop it while you're still in the N, but it's like you're getting ready to say the D, but you don't quite do it yet. And if that's weird, and especially since you can't see me, go ahead and put your tongue on the back of your teeth, of your upper teeth, and then simply pronounce the word un, but keep your tongue there. Un. Can you do that? Yeah, you can. So it still comes out like an N, but you're already getting ready to say diablo, un diablo. This would also happen with a T. So when it comes before any dental consonant, it's going to turn into the N with a tail. Then the regular N, this is just regular N, nothing new, nothing different. As you know from your chart, normalmente N es alveolar. So the first one is pretty easy, the Spanish example, un negocio. We talked in phonetic transcription that normally when you speak in rapid, general, natural speech, you would combine those two N sounds into one. And I know this still might be tricky for some of you, but what I want to repeat is that we always use phonetic transcription to describe exactly what was said. So if I wanted to say un negocio, I just said two N's worth of sound, if that makes sense, un negocio. But normally in speech, you just say un negocio. Tengo un negocio. An N happens to be alveolar, but that's not the only alveolar consonant that would fall into this category. If you look at English, insulate. Now you know an S is alveolar. So what I want you to do is put your tongue on that little alveolar ridge, the bony ridge behind your teeth. Go ahead and put it there. Keep it there and say in. You can say the word in, or the first part of insulate, in, with your mouth already ready to make an S. So don't think about it too much and just repeat these after me and see if it just happens. Un negocio. Insulate. So the sound isn't what's changing, it's just that your mouth is getting ready to do what it needs to do for the very next sound. Then you have the nye, which we've already talked about. So I want to be really clear here. Notice that this nye is between brackets. So what I'm saying is, this is a situation where your N phoneme, the N up at the top of the page, the N phoneme is actually going to be pronounced like nye, but it's not the phoneme nye. It's still going to function like an N, like an N, but it gets pronounced like a nye. Why on earth would that be? We're going to call it nye, the nasal palatal. Try this word in Spanish after me. Inyección. Inyección. Now go over to the English example. Canyon. Canyon. Can you stop on the N, get ready to say the Y in canyon, but don't. So you're already ready to go y with your N. Try it with the Spanish again. Inyección. Stop at the N. You're already in mouth position to make the y sound. Inyección. So the N with the tilde, and again, I'm talking about an allophone of the phoneme N. So we're still dealing with N, and that's how it would be written. It would be the letter N, but in these situations, the N gets pronounced as specific allophones based on what comes after it. And then finally, those of you who took sociolinguistics will recognize the N with a tail. The N with the tail is the velar allophone of the phoneme N. Velar, remember that was back in your throat. There was a K and a G, the K and the G, K, G, that fall into this category. So try the English example after me. Encode, encode. Stop at the N. You're ready to make the K, but you don't. And you have already closed off your throat. Do it again, see if that's true. And you're getting ready to say the K, but you're still in the N. You've already closed off your throat because your brain knows that the next sound is going to need that. Encode. Now the Spanish example after me. Engordar. Engordar. Now this one, I will admit, does happen naturally unless you force it not to. So this N that comes before a G, the reason that we're talking about the N with the tail, velar allophone of N, is because the G that comes right after it is velar. Could I say just a regular N sound and a regular G sound in this word? I can, but it's going to be weird. Engordar, engordar. Natural speech, engordar, engordar. So that N, you're actually pronouncing as if it were an ng, like an ing sound. Engordar. So you have to ask yourself, is this just going to be an N with a tail and that takes care of the written letters N and G? Or is the N letter going to be represented by the N with the tail sound and then a separate G? Well, it depends on exactly how the word goes. But here, engordar, you have both. You have the ng, but you also have a g after it. If you didn't, it would be engordar, engordar. We don't want just engordar. We want the g sound there as well. So not just engordar, engordar, but engordar, engordar. Okay, so this is actually a little bit more difficult than it looks a little bit more difficult than it really is. Like I said, pronunciation, nothing new. You're just going to be saying things like you always do, but naturally things are going on in your mouth. So all of these things on the left-hand column are the allophones that in certain situations happen when you're trying to deal with the phoneme N. But here's what's not so difficult about it. Find the letter N in whatever you're talking about, check out the sound that comes right after it, and look at that. If it's a consonant, ask yourself, what kind of consonant is that? Is it a bilabial consonant like B? Is it a labiodental like F? Is it a dental? Is it alveolar? Is it palatal? Is it any of the rest of these? That's what makes your decision. So the Spanish example I have for dental, un diablo, that would also happen with a T. Why? Because the T is dental as well as the D. So again, it's this simple, simple, but relatively speaking, find the letter N in anything you're reading. If it's before a consonant, figure out what that consonant is. You might have to go back to your chart, but where does it happen? Is it bilabial? Is it palatal? Is it dental? Etc., etc. Then the symbol that you see there in brackets, the allophone, that's what you will write in your phonetic translation. Ok, practicamos. Y como les dije, buenas noticias, estos cambios ocurren automáticamente. You can force the situation so it doesn't actually flow out of your mouth naturally every time. But what we're saying here is this is the general tendency of speakers. When they're speaking out loud, naturally, this is going to happen. So what I recommend this point right now is to ignore everything I just said and repeat these sentences after me. Hablan vasco. Hablan vasco. Say it again and feel, are you really making an N at the end of the word hablan, or are you making M to get ready for your bilabial sound? Try it again. Hablan vasco. Hablan vasco. If you're saying it just sort of naturally, that N has turned into the allophone M. One thing you have to remember, you see that V for vasco? We don't pronounce a V in Spanish. It would be pronounced like a B. So you're looking for the bilabial version. That's where we got the M, not the V. So this is one more time to remind you to keep it in your mind separate between letters of the alphabet and sound. So with Vasco, you have the letter V, but you're pronouncing it like a B. So one last time. Hablan vasco. How about the next one? Con hielo, por favor. Con hielo, por favor. If you stop on the N of con, but you're ready to say hielo, con hielo, you're actually getting a ny in there. So the allophone that you would write between brackets there is the ny. Con hielo, por favor. The next one. Don't think too much, just repeat. Pongo un peso en un cajón. Pongo un peso en un cajón. Now, the word un, all by itself, before peso, that's going to be a little bit different story because that N comes before the bilabial P, so that would be an M. But look at pongo. Pongo, pongo, pongo. If it were just a regular N and a G, it would sound like pongo. Pongo. We don't want pongo. We want pongo. Pongo. So again, pongo un peso en un cajón. The second word, un, right before cajón, what's that going to be? That is going to be the palatal ny also, because the velar, because k is velar. So one more time, pongo un peso en un cajón. All right, how about the next one? Just repeat after me. Pongo aquí la parte ancha. Pongo aquí la parte ancha. What I'm looking at is the ancha. the N that comes before that CH. What kind of a sound is CH? Check your chart to use that CH in English as well. Check your chart for ancha. So whatever you get for that, then you need that version of the N when you write your allophones. How about the next one? Un chico enyesó el muro con la pala. Read it again after me. We're not going to go quickly, but we do want to keep it as one breath group rather than stopping after every word. So again, un chico enyesó el muro con la pala. So you've got an N before ch, you've got an N before y, and you've got an N before L. In each of those situations, look at the consonant that comes after, figure out what it is. Is it bilabial? Is it dental? Is it velar? And then put the appropriate corresponding allophone in instead of just an N. Now the last one. Again, slowly but smoothly. Faltan un macho y una hembra para comenzar un grupo familiar. And one more time. Faltan un macho y una hembra para comenzar un grupo familiar. So the upcoming homework will be this. In a sentence like that, find every single case of the letter N. And those are all the phoneme N, meaning they work like an N. They're not an L, they're not an F, they're not a P, they're an N. But the specific pronunciation, the allophones, is what changes. So you find each and every example there. You've got one at the end of faltan, which comes before a U, so that doesn't fit any of our rules. We're only dealing with consonants. At the end of un, you've got the N that comes before macho. With una, that N is not followed by a consonant, so it's just a normal regular N. Then you have in the word comenzar, it happens before, again, remember this is the letter Z, but it's the sound S. So you ask yourself, what kind of a sound is that? What kind of a consonant is S? You will find that it's alveolar. Go to the chart with your, not the chart, but your list of new allophone symbols and find out which one goes before an alveolar sound. Same thing with N at the end of un before grupo. So you're going to get some different answers there. This is probably completely overstating it, but I want to just make sure it's clear. Find every letter N. If a consonant comes after it, figure out what kind of consonant that is, put the corresponding allophone for the N. Y ahora terminamos con las vocales y consonantes. Tenemos este hombre que está bailando porque no vamos a hablar de consonantes después de esta presentación. All right, we made it. Good job. So this ends the portion of the class that's hands-on practice for pronouncing correctly every single sound that you have in Spanish. We'll move on to some things that are a little bit beyond just pronunciation in the next presentations. So, woohoo! Adios.